your grandparents, keep going, past powdered wigs and chainmail, all the way back to an ancestor, squatting in the dirt whose only real goal for the day was to see the sun come up again.
You know, that ancestor, and thousands like them in your direct lineage, had no clue you would ever exist. But their survival is the only reason you do. Today, we're going to look at the moments in history when humanity was pushed right to the absolute edge.
Look, your being here isn't just luck. It's the result of an impossibly long, completely unbroken chain of survival. If any single person in that chain had failed, you wouldn't be here. It's a history written by violent coincidence and just sheer, stubborn biology.
That's the real question, isn't it? So today, we're going to try and answer that by counting down the 5 deadliest periods in human history. The times your ancestors somehow, against all odds, managed to pull through. All right, let's kick things off with number 5. We're heading way back, about 20,000 years ago, to what's called the last glacial maximum. Trust me, Earth was not a cozy place. It was a planet pretty much smothered in ice, where finding food was a full-time job, and just surviving was a minute-by-minute battle.
I mean, just look at how stacked the odds were. Imagine your daily to-do list is just, don't freeze to death. For dinner, you've got to hunt a 6-ton woolly mammoth that is actively trying to kill you, and your only weapon is a pointy stick. And medicine? Forget it. If you get a simple cut, your only option is to chew on some plants and just hope for the best.
Okay, moving on to number 4, and this one might actually surprise you. The threat wasn't from nature, but from one of humanity's own brilliant ideas. So around 10,000 years ago, we had this revolutionary thought. Hey, instead of chasing our food all over the place, why don't we just make it grow right here? And welcome to the dawn of agriculture, the exact moment humanity accidentally made life way, way harder.
And this slide really shows the shocking trade-off. Hunter-gatherers, they had varied, high-protein diets, but early farmers were living on grains, which meant less protein and all kinds of vitamin deficiencies. Plus, living all crammed together in dense villages meant diseases spread like wildfire. I mean, archaeologists find skeletons from this time showing rampant malnutrition and just horrifying dental problems. The big takeaway here? Civilization came at a really steep price for our ancestors' health.
All right, let's move to number 3, a time when the deadliest threat on the entire planet was other people. If you lived in the 13th century and saw a cloud of dust on the horizon, you had about 3 minutes to panic. Led by Genghis Khan, the Mongols carved out the largest land empire in history, and they basically treated mercy like it was a myth.
Their strategy was terrifyingly simple. Show up fast, hit unbelievably hard, and leave nothing standing. Their horse archers could hit a target from 300 yards away while riding at a full gallop. They essentially invented modal warfare centuries before its time. Entire cities were just wiped off the map. Think about that number. The Mongol invasions are estimated to have killed around 10% of the entire world's population. It was a level of devastation the planet had just never seen before.
Which brings us to number 2 on our list. A catastrophe so infamous, its name is still pretty much synonymous with death itself.
In 1347, a biological wildfire just tore through Europe. It arrived on ships carried by rats and fleas, and it was utterly unstoppable. It was, of course, the Black Death. The cause was a nasty little bacterium called Yersinia pestis. It spread through flea bites or just by breathing the same air as someone who was infected. The symptoms were horrific, and death often came within days. In a world that had no concept of germ theory, survival was an absolute lottery.
And this slide? Wow, it puts the devastation in perspective. In just a few years, the plague wiped out somewhere between 30 and 60% of Europe's entire population. Just imagine every other person you know gone. Entire villages were simply abandoned. Yet, somehow, your ancestor was among the survivors.
And now we arrive at number 1, the single worst time to be alive. An event that didn't just threaten a city or a continent, but nearly deleted our entire species from existence.
About 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano in Indonesia erupted. This wasn't just a volcano. It was a planetary-scale cataclysm that triggered the greatest existential threat our species has ever faced.
Just let that sink in. The eruption was so massive, it blocked out the sun for the better part of a decade. Global temperatures plummeted,
Plants withered, animals starved, and entire ecosystems just collapsed. For early humans, this was a full-blown apocalypse.
And here's the most staggering fact of all. The total human population on Earth shrank to fewer than 3,000 individuals. That's it, a genetic bottleneck so tight that every single person alive today is descended from that tiny, desperate handful of survivors.
Can you imagine spending your life in near total darkness, freezing, starving, with absolutely no guarantee the sun would ever return? And yet, against all imaginable odds, that small group of humans endured. They didn't give up when everything else did.
And that brings us right back to you. From the Ice Age to the Plague to the very edge of total extinction, your ancestral line held on. You are the miracle they fought for. Their resilience is literally written into your DNA.
You know, it leaves us with one final thought. Every generation faces its own challenges, its own existential threats. What will ours be? And what will history say about how we face them?